Let's settle for the AM news now. In our first story, it is emerging that a police CID investigation into the activities of the defunct Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining cleared its secretary, Charles Bissiou, and 8 others, including 5 policemen, of any culpability. We're learning that following the broadcast of the documentary Galamsey Fraud by investigative journalist Anas Arimaya Anas, then chairman of the IMCIM, Professor Kwabena Frimpong-Boateng, wrote to the Interior Minister asking that he task the police CID to investigate the matter. The police concluded that it did not find any of the suspects culpable. Legal Affairs correspondent Joseph Akakpo has more.
There are 2 motions pending in the courts. The first has to do with a request for production of documents, specifically the petition that gave rise to the investigation by the special prosecutor into the activities of Charles Bissiou as he served as secretary of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining. The second one is a motion for injunction asking that the court restrains the special prosecutor from investigating Charles Bissiou. Lawyers for Mr. Bissiou, led by Nane Jewa, informed the court that they take the view that in order to move the motion for injunction, they would have to have access to the said documents first. And so they consider it important to their request for injunction. Lawyers for the special prosecutor, led by Dr. Isidore Tufo, however, disagreed. Dr. Tufo told the court that nowhere in the substantive case filed by Charles Bissiou does he make reference to any such document. And so if after filing their case, they have discovered such fresh document that they believe exist, they should take steps, appropriate steps, and not seek to tie that one to the injunction, to ask the court to hold on until it determines the request for those documents. The judge agreed with this particular view, saying that as far as she is concerned, she doesn't think the 2 motions are connected. But she nonetheless opted to adjourn proceedings because of a request by lawyers for Charles Bissiou. The lead counsel, Nane Jewa, had indicated that he is unwell. And so the case has been adjourned to July 4 with the understanding that it is likely that the court will first take the motion for injunction before it considers any other matter. We know that a special prosecutor is already investigating Charles Bissiou in respect of the ongoing probe into the activities of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining. This is entirely different from this case here, because this one borders on that investigation that was done by way of the documentary published by investigative journalist Anas Arimaya Anas. For joining us on the Law Courts Complex, my name is Joseph Akakpo.
Now, a professor of epidemiology at the University of Health and Allied Sciences, Professor Fred Binka, has shut down the implementation of the Agenda 111 policy as a measure to prepare for a pandemic. He says the construction of 111 district health facilities is not feasible, indicating the projects would only increase the number of uncompleted government structures due to the lack of funding. He was speaking at the University of Health and Allied Sciences Send Ghana Health Advocacy Incubator Symposium on Public Health Emergency Funding.
One of the 2 critical things that we took out from the COVID was that there were not enough health facilities across the country. So we rightly started what is called Agenda 111. To increase health infrastructure. Okay? 111 hospitals. Goodness. That's a great idea. But why couldn't we just say, okay, this year we'll build 20, next year 20, till we get to what? 111. So far, we haven't built any. Okay? When is the first one going to finish? So we've just gone on a tangent. The truth of the matter is that the Agenda 111 will have many uncompleted structures in the bush at the end of the day. That's the truth. You all know it. I've not seen the budget for the equipment. Building brick and mortar is not a hospital. If you can't find money to build a brick and mortar, how are you going to fund the equipment? Number 2, have you made preparations for the human resource that make the hospital function? As of yesterday, I heard 6,000 nurses have gone to real greener pastures, and more will follow. 6,000. This is not a joke. So we got 100 million to start up the Agenda 111. Look, sometimes I'm not sure how these things work, but at the last count, we were told that the Agenda 111 would cost almost $1 billion. When you get 100 million, you don't start to build 111. You have to face it in. Or now you have started 111 hospitals all over the place. Have you got the 900 million? Now we are to IMF. Big IMF comes and says, I'm sorry, you can't be investing in capital expenditure when you can't find money to pay your salaries of your workers. Or you can't give textbooks to your school people. I don't want to get into that policy.
Now, the local government ministry is urging metropolitan, municipal and district chief executives to apply their internally generated funds to ensure development in their areas without relying on funds from government. Sector Minister Dan Botche says many of the projects in the various assemblies could be executed without the assemblies relying on government. Jacqueline Ansuma has more from her visit to various beneficiary MMDAs of the Greater Accra Resilient and Integrated Development Project.
Part of Greater Accra region over the years has been subjected to perennial flooding occasioned by poor sanitation, drainage infrastructure, overcrowded spaces, and weak regulatory enforcement. The Greater Accra Resilient and Integrated Development Project, GARID, is the first in a series of projects designed to build the resilience. The Minister for Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development, Mr. Dan Botche, expressed his satisfaction on the project done so far by the Ablekuma West and Central municipalities.
Funds are released to them to do the sorting, to do sensitization, and I think they have done very well. It's a project that depends on their program and implementation, and the result that they get money according to the results they get. But this year, we ensure that almost all the assemblies get the same money. And we felt that if people don't perform well, we should rather sanction the officials in the assemblies instead of they getting less money so that they can do what is expected of them. But by and large, it's clear that what is expected of them, they have lived up to expectation in terms of the understanding of the problem, the design for the solutions. Because each assembly is supposed to have a drainage map.
He also revealed that other works that need to be done in the municipalities should be taken care of by the MCs using their internally generated funds to ensure all the needs of the people are met in their localities.
What they have done has reduced the incident of flooding, and we are hoping that beyond the funds that have come from the Weber supported project of GARID, the assemblies, as we discussed, went to the Takoradi station, should use their internally generated funds to do some of these things, because we saw some of the weeds in the drains. You don't need a project before you clear those things. And that's what we are going to use as a way of measuring their performance, especially the MNDCs. We are going to hold them accountable to that. So the area that we have visited, we expect them to use their internally generated funds to do some basic things of clearing the drainage, so that at least many people will not suffer when there's flooding.
MC of Ablekuma North, Kofi Asare, acknowledges delay in starting the GARID project and assured the minister that he will begin it on Tuesday.
We are starting the work tomorrow by God's grace. So don't let us do any rush work and say, oh, because you are coming in 2 weeks, so we'll be rushing. You come 2 weeks, see us doing the work. You understand? I believe in good work than to rush and say, because you are coming in 2 weeks' time. Because when you start it today and it rains tomorrow, what do we do? Do we say because you are coming, so what can we do? So let's pray to God that will give us good weather, so that from tomorrow when we start, by 2 weeks time, by the time you come here, whatever you want to see, that is what you come and meet.
The minister is currently visiting all 17 assemblies to ensure all the funds allocated has been put to use. For Joy News, Jacqueline Ansuma Yeboah.
In our next story, residents of Jako, a suburb of Techiman in the Bono East region, are worried about what they describe as foot dragging on the part of municipal authorities to evacuate a pile of refuse unattended to in the area. They say the abundant refuse, coupled with its stinking odor could lead to the outbreak of cholera and other communicable infections. Correspondent Anas Sabit was in the community and came through with this report. We'll bring you details of that story much later. But now, on to Ghana's cocoa industry, which could collapse by the year 2080 if the current rate of environmental degradation continues unabated. This was revealed by Director of the Institute for Environment and Sanitation Studies at the University of Ghana, Professor Christopher Gordon, at the launch of the maiden biannual Forum on Natural Resources, Environment, Climate Change and Science. Carlos Caloni reports.
In the face of growing concerns about the deterioration of Ghana's natural environment, the Media Platform on Environment and Climate Change, MPEG, and Afro-Sinus Center for International Relations, ASCIR, have held the maiden biannual Forum on Natural Resources, Environment, Climate Change and Science, BIMNEX. Speaking at the forum, Director of the Institute for Environment and Sanitation Studies at the University of Ghana, Professor Christopher Gordon, revealed that recent research has shown that Ghana's cocoa sector could collapse by year 2080 if the rate of environmental degradation continues.
There's a statistic which has been quoted. This is coming back from 2000 from the NCAP study. This is the Netherlands Climate Adaptation Program. The projection is that by 2080, we cannot grow cocoa in Ghana except as an ornamental crop, because the conditions will have changed so much.
To help reverse the dangerous effect of environmental ruin, Executive Director of the MPEG said the biannual forum is to help enhance national conversation on climate issues.
We want to enhance our contribution to the debate, to the conversation on how to streamline things when it comes to sound natural resources management, environmental protection, climate change adaptation and mitigation, and the role of science, because science must come in with the innovation and with technology to back whatever development we want to see in our nation. And so we want to start that, and that is what we have started here today.
Speaking to Joy News, some environmental journalists highlighted threats, lack of interest in the field, as well as difficulty accessing information from public officials as major hurdles.
Journalists have shied away from reporting on the environment because it's not a sexy subject. It's so hard. So that's why I started with interest. If you have an interest, you want to seek answers and you want to go to the experts to break it down.
And when you are looking for information, or you find out something, you want the public official to make a pronouncement on it, it becomes very difficult. Then if you dare to go into areas where, whether it is large-scale mining or small-scale mining is taking place, you are putting your life on the line because people see you as trying to take their food out of their mouth.
Professor from the University of Media, Art and Communication, UNIMAC, Modestus Fosu, charged media practitioners to remain ethical and strong-willed in the face of political intimidation on environmental reporting.
That if you do your work sincerely with honesty, not with any biased mind, and you do so ethically, the intimidation should be something the journalist should be able to surmount. It's difficult, but I only encourage journalists to be strong, to be able to feel in their conscience that they are doing the right thing. And sometimes when things come up and people realize that you are just doing your job, and rather than that is the society or the sections of society, government, machinery and so on, that are intimidating you because of the good work you are doing, you have the public support.
My name is Carlos Caloni for Joy News.
Well, we go back to our previous story where residents of Jako, a suburb of Techiman in the Bono East region, are worried about what they describe as feet dragging by the municipal authorities to evacuate a pile of refuse unattended to in the area.
The Sustainable Development Goal 6 speaks about ensuring access to water and sanitation for all. It talks about the need for us to have a clean environment so the people will stay healthy. However, the people of Mampusla and a suburb of the Chiman in the Bono East region are lamenting the negative effects of insanitary conditions within the community. For the umpteenth time, we are here to tell this same story. City authorities, the last time we came here, responded swiftly by evacuating the heap of refuse then. However, where before, the refuse has been dumped here, abandoned by authorities, and this is the level we've got into. We've been speaking with some community people on how this is affecting them in terms of their health and sanitation.
This refuse site is affecting us in diverse ways. The stench level is worrying, so we'll be grateful if they come to our aid.
How do you believe? For who the bola mimi. So what I say? Yes, I say Ghana and Penny for Omehana Munya and one bola and Fira because we have Sahasia. We wish authorities will come to our aid because we have a worship center here and there are school children all over, and when it's about to rain, the wind blows polythene bags into our homes and the road also gets flooded, making it difficult for people to get access to their homes. These residents who are currently overwhelmed by the current situation say they do not know where to channel their grievances to after being neglected by city authorities. I say, Oka Asembia, what's a munkobia? Because it's a wooden penny beer, why not Okobona money? Untimimbo beer money. And some Mosumabi Timo, Edam Musuntina Moso, I had a Ghana for you.
We don't know where to channel our grievances. We are happy you are here because without you, we won't be able to reach the authorities. Because we are also humans and the situation is worrying.
Because any penny. So now we have crew, not boil away a half month for her. I think say, fine.
There are clusters of schools around this refuse site, and the closest of these schools is Aswad Islamic Academy. Pupils of the school have been sharing with us how the abandoned refuse dump is affecting their academic activities. Basma Yusuf is a class 5 pupil of the school.
It affects us every day because when the sun scorches on it and it will be blowing us and the smell too is unpleasant, so we can't, every day we suffer like that, so we need you to come and help us.
Even though the World Health Organization has declared that the COVID-19 pandemic isn't a global health emergency anymore, pupils of this school, Aswad Islamic Academy, are being forced to still remain in their nose masks, not for COVID-19, but due to the stench that emanates from the refuse site that has been abandoned and positioned just behind the school. There are times school has to close because of the nature of the smell or odor that disrupts their studies almost on daily basis.
The refuse down, it affects us a lot in our education. Sometimes when we are studying in class, we are busy learning. The smell, the refuse down releases a bad smell which causes us to end the class. We move downstairs nearby the tree to get some fresh air. Unless we can't continue.
Also, in terms of their health, final year pupils who are kept here as boarders are being affected heavily because the refuse site breeds mosquitoes, which eventually bring about malaria. And as I speak to you, some 3 pupils of this school are currently hospitalized because they've been diagnosed of malaria.
Some of us are in the boarding house, and we can't even sleep at the night due to the mosquitoes. And mosquitoes too, when it bites you, you will contract malaria. Few weeks ago, 3 of our students have been admitted in the hospital, and even this morning one was complaining that she is sick and she is not able to come to school today. She is at the dormitory right now.
Aside this, house flies are all over during lunchtime, and this is also bringing about another health threat, possibly cholera. These pupils are currently subjected to this, and they are calling on authorities to come to their aid to save their education
and then their health.
We don't feel comfortable when we are eating. And even a few months ago, we stopped eating the canteen due to the house flies. And even at this time, when we are about to eat the lunch, house flies are on the food, so we can't even eat the food.
Basma Yusuf, however, has a passionate appeal to government and city authorities.
I want to tell government that please, we beg them, they should come and push this rubbish for us. We are suffering every day when we come to school. Every day when I come to school, one problem I think is that when I come to school, this refuse them, I am afraid to fall sick again. So I wish government to come and push the rubbish down so we will get our freedom. So we will be free from not falling sick anymore. That's all I wish from government. Thank you.
Until something urgent is being done about this precarious situation, this abandoned refuse site will continue to pose as a threat to public health to the people living here and the thousands of school-going children schooling around. Anna Sabit, Joy News, Tichiman.
And on that environmental note, we cap off the news. But stay with us. Up next, shortly, we get into the news review. Do stay.